Welcome to the gathering of this special educational session. So good to see all you guys. I request all of the attendees to keep your videos on throughout the session for our speaker to have an interactive session. I am Shri Khebde and I've been part of Sober ToastMasters Club for more than a year. Ralph C. Smedley in March 24, 1905 started a movement called ToastMasters. The reason behind this movement was that he figured that people have a tough time raising a toast and public speaking. In order to help them fight their fear of public speaking, Toastmaster Club was initiated. Today, we have numerous clubs across the globe, 154 countries to be precise, one of which is Sober Toastmasters Club. In Sober Toastmasters Club, we are here to share our knowledge system when it comes to conducting a Toastmasters meeting. In order to help with that, Sober Toastmasters Club has started a community outreach program to share our knowledge in form of series of awesome sessions, evaluation, table topic, T-mod, and tag-L. In order to execute our vision, we initiated Project University Pushpagiri. To give a small context of University Pushpagiri, it used to be an oasis of knowledge in ancient India, where people from across the globe would come, study from the best professors and turn themselves into better humans. To draw parallels, Sober Toastmasters Club has the best Toastmasters who have 10 to 20 years of experience within Toastmasters fraternity, who are here to help us learn. After having a successful 2 educational sessions, here we are with terrific Toastmasters of the day. After the presentation, we will have a question and answer session. All participants are requested to raise hands. The Zoom master will spotlight you and you can personally ask him the question. And today, to share his experience on Toastmaster of the day, we have someone who has completed his DTM thrice in 2014, 16, and 22. Incredibly, he has done it the first time when he was just 24 years old. He has served in all seven club EC roles, area and division and governor, and also as the district admin manager. Our multi-talented speaker has won multiple times at club, area, and division for all contests. He has competed at district level for evaluation and table topics. He has been a member in the last 16 years at around 10 clubs at various times, currently with 3 important clubs, Sobo, ICAC, and MTM. With an MBA in marketing from one of the India's leading institutes, this fast-track professional has worked in multinational competitive business environments. He has recently relocated to Canada, and we are sure that this star will shine there too. With a huge round of applause, welcome distinguished Toastmaster Abbas Akbar, all the way from Canada. Over to you, Abbas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, before we start, I'd request for a few rules to take in effect right away. First, the 17 of you, besides myself, who have videos on, thank you very much. I'd request the reminder to please put your videos on. The idea is to have a more interactive session where all of us can interact, and it may not just be a one-way session. Number 2, should you have any questions at any point of time, please feel free to note them down or push it to the Zoom master Hamza on chat personally. He will then ask you with your name to unmute yourself at the right time, and you can then pose out your question. Also, please be reminded that a lot of your questions may be answered during the session. If they are not, I'd highly encourage you to please put them out in the Q&A session. We'll try and have the sessions for roughly 20 to 25 minutes, in which we'll interact, post which we'll have the Q&A. Right? So, Mr. Zoom Master, can we have the slides shared, please? And while that's happening, I'd first like to thank all 28 of you to attend today's session, and I'm going to try and make it as fruitful as possible. Also, please remember, we have a small form that you may need to fill in case you're willing to get a small handbook on your email, which covers everything about a Toastmaster of the day, the checklist, the script, how to work with it, the presentation, everything would be shared with you. So that form will come on the screen. Be mindful of filling in your responses then, right? With this, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about being a terrific Toastmaster of the day. Ralph C. Smedley once said, and that's become a very popular quote ever since, that we learn best in the moments of enjoyment. And I think that's true because the personification of that quote lies in the hands of the Toastmaster of the day. Now, the question is, what is a Toastmaster of the day? When I first joined Toastmasters and when I first entered a Toastmasters meeting, I had seen an elderly old guy standing in front of me saying that I am your Toastmaster of the day and I will help you understand. And my first question was, what does Toastmaster of the day mean? Why so complicated? And in simple lingo, my dear friend Shaukat then explained to me saying that in simple lingo, Toastmaster of the day means two small alphabets of the English language, MC, better known as EMCEE, the host of the meeting, and that is what the Toastmaster of the day is. Next, Mr. Zoomaster. The Toastmaster of the day, or evening, or midnight, depending on where your club is holding its meetings, is essentially the master of ceremonies, like you're all aware, who conducts the entire meeting. He or she is the host who ensures that the entire meeting runs seamlessly. He or she mediates between speakers, role players, setting the tone of the meeting. And all that happens by choosing a theme and keeping the audience engaged throughout the meeting in relation to the theme. Hence, it would be right to say that after the VP Education, who is the backbone of a Toastmasters Club, the Toastmaster of the day is the backbone of any meeting that he or she is heading. Now that you know what a Toastmaster of the day is, and a lot of us have been TMODs at various points of time, let's talk about what do we intend to cover in today's session. How would we add value in today's session? And let's see how the session would move forward. Next, please. The agenda for today is we talk about different aspects of this universe called Toastmaster of the day. We'd understand the importance. We'd understand what is it that you minimum require to do a role well. That's it, the bare minimum qualification. Then we talk about what do you require to ace it, how to put that A for awesome in that Toastmaster of the day's role. Some tips and tricks to get you through while you're doing this role. Then the biggest question is, I'm okay to do a TMOD, but how do I get a theme? So today, let's also tackle that, how to shoot in your themes when you're a Toastmaster of the day. Finally, the cheat sheet for all of you. That is a few pre-written scripts, a few checklists that will ensure you pull your way through as a Toastmaster of the day. And at the end, we try and conclude the entire session, right? So moving on, let's start with the importance of a Toastmaster of the day. Now you see the screen and you see the word Oscars, and you're definitely saying it makes no sense, but let me tell you how it makes sense. So let's try and understand the importance of a Toastmaster of the day. Let's think about the Oscars. Now imagine if the Oscars did not have a host. It would be a bunch of people coming on stage and accepting awards. The nominations would play on the screen, and the awards and performances could just be announced one by one by a guy behind a speaker. Nobody would know who it is. There would be no mediator, no one who held the entire event together. It would be a haphazard event. Nobody would know what's happening. And that's where the string in the garland comes in. The host enters the crowd and creates a link between the audience and the role players, the audience and the speakers, the audience and anybody and everybody that comes on stage. The audience becomes familiar with the host because he or she keeps coming back on the stage. Soon enough, the audience start to know the host better, and this helps add in some comfort to an otherwise plainly listed event. While the speakers are the heroes of a day, a good host provides the necessary break required from the agenda at the event. He or she tries and brings in different perspectives to a set theme that he or she wants to talk about during the event. So let's take the Oscars example again. While everyone is mainly interested in Oscars as to who is going to win and who would be nominated and who's winning it this year, if you remember 2014, Ellen DeGeneres lightened the mood of the event with a highly entertaining gimmicks of ordering pizza and her infamous selfie, which made the Oscar event of that year so memorable that people didn't really know the winners after a few days, but that selfie went viral across social media. And it's the same with the Toastmaster of the day. Not to compare a TMOD or a Toastmasters meeting to the Oscars, but the example can draw a parallel here. If you understand the importance of a host, you would understand the importance of the role in that meeting. And then that is the kind of hard work and preparation we would put towards our role. Ladies and gentlemen, to put it short, the role of a Toastmaster of the day is as important as any other role in a meeting. And the way to ace it is one simple word: prepare. While most of us are impromptu performers, Toastmaster of the day is a role that needs a lot of preparation. Next, please. Now, now that we know what the role is, let's look at what is it that we require to just scratch the surface, do a good job, and complete a Toastmasters meeting. So as Toastmaster of the day, should you ever take one, what you need to do for sure is try and have a theme, number one. When you go on stage, introduce the theme. For example, if my theme for today is Bollywood, I would try and build a small background on why the theme is Bollywood, the evolution of Bollywood, and my connection to Bollywood. Like some of you may think that I look very similar to Madhuri Dixit, maybe from the left or right, but that's a parallel that I'll build to you, right? So you talk about the theme. Second is you try and introduce your role players, what they are, who they are, a little bit of their background, introductions, etc. Similarly, introduce the speakers, acknowledge the speech post the speech is completed. Do not give an evaluation, just a one-liner. That was a fantastic speech, Jisha. We loved your perspective on bangles, for example. And finally, once all the roles are over, you conclude and hand over to the presiding officer. Now, this is the most basic hard work you can put in a Toastmaster of the Day's role. This is bare minimum. While I suggest we try and not do this, we do better. But this is what we do at times when we are called last minute, when somebody backs off, or when there are days that we don't want to put in a lot of effort and we want to still do the role. This is the least we should do, right? But when you're doing all this, remember two things that will still pull you apart. One is the energy you bring on stage. Because I strongly believe, and I'm sure all of you agree, that the Toastmaster of the day sets the tone for the meeting. If you start dead and depressed like Jisha's face right now, the meeting is going to be that way. But if you start smiling and jolly like Shaukat's face right now, the meeting is going to be that way. So it's in your hands how you start and set the tone for the meeting. But always remember, point number two, whatever the meeting is, everybody that comes on stage, including yourself, deserves to be acknowledged. And how we acknowledge is we applaud. So every time you see a role player, a performer, some taking the stage, you applaud for them. And that is when you start, you lead the applause, because when you do it, everybody in the audience echoes it. And when they echo it, that boosts the morale of the speaker or the presenter coming on stage. So always, always, always applaud whenever anybody comes on stage. Okay, now that is the bare minimum. Next, please. But we at Toastmasters, or we at, in our individual capacities, don't do minimum. We like doing extra because that's what we are, always a little more hardworking, a little better. And today, let's look at things that we should do to ace our roles as Toastmaster of the day. What else, or what extra, or what meat we can add to this otherwise skeleton of a Toastmaster of the day? Next, please. So to ace the role of a meeting, of a Toastmaster of the day, let's look at two aspects. One is, as a Toastmaster of the day, what should we do before the meeting? And second, as a Toastmaster of the day, what we should do after. See, nobody's listening. How could you do anything after the meeting? What you do during the meeting. Guys, come on, a little more attention, please. Okay, so two aspects. What we do before the Toastmasters meeting. Second, what we do during a Toastmasters meeting, right? So quick checklist on things we should do before the meeting. One is choose a theme. Have a theme beforehand, and don't try and go to alien subjects that you're not aware about, or you don't want to put hard work in researching and understanding about. Try and take things close to you. For example, if Hamza was a Toastmaster of the day, he would take things like cricket, chai, Bollywood, his better half, things that are close to him to be the subject matter of his theme. So try and take something that you could relate to. Second, reach out to people that are on the agenda for that day. Get in touch with the VP Education understand who the role players are, and get in touch with them. It is very important for you to know who your role players are and for the role players to know who you are as Toastmaster of the day. So there is a seamless coordination during the meeting. Third is definitely, if you have a theme, please create content around around the theme so that you could use that through the meeting to knit the meeting well. Fourth is craft your introductions. What I mean by crafting introductions is not something like, for example, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Toastmaster Suyash Mandhana. Suyash is level 2, project 2 of effective coaching. That's a very sad introduction. Suyash is going to be depressed and may not want to come on stage. Instead, imagine an introduction like this. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker for the day is a CA honors. He loves belly dancing to the song Maya Maya. He's also an avid reader who loves long walks and music with a person that is just right for him. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker for today is Toastmaster Suyash Mandhana presenting his project 2. Now that elevates the speaker, makes him or her feel better, and they want to come on the stage a little quicker with a brighter smile. And that's the idea for us as Toastmasters of the day. Next is whatever you're doing, how much ever of hard work you're putting into it, do not come on stage with an impromptu script at the end or just writing a script and coming on stage. Always rehearse a little. That helps you build better credence with the audience. You're more confident and it's more natural when you deliver it. So try and rehearse your script or rehearse the flow that you want to bring on stage. Finally, the last point is something that I advocate. A lot of you would say that let's not print papers, but I strongly believe that in today's day and age, try and have a copy of the agenda handy with you. I prefer not on your mobile because that's distracting, maybe on an iPad or a printed paper that helps you know the exact agenda. And if there are any amendments, you can always take those and move forward. But try and have an agenda handy so that you're not asking the VP Ed or checking the board or the screen behind you as to what the agenda is. It shows your level of preparation. So these small 6 points, if done before the meeting, would ensure that you've crossed 90% success in your Toastmasters meeting. Also, folks, at this point, remember, the role of a Toastmaster of the day is a tricky one. It does not start like the role of a general evaluator or a table topics master or any other role that majorly happens during the meeting with very minimal preparation a little before. The Toastmaster of the day role mainly happens before the meeting because that's where all the meat of hard work goes into. Your preparation, your theme, your scripts, your introductions, your content, all that happens before the meeting. So let's try and put in a lot more time before the meeting and only then take up the role from a VP Education. Now that we've seen what all we do before the meeting, let's quickly look at things we should do to ace the role during the meeting, right? Next, please. So as a Toastmaster of the day, now when we come on stage, we obviously introduce the theme and we talk about the theme. We build the theme on stage. That could be anything. I remember, for example, I was seeing a club way back in Delhi, and the Toastmaster of the day's theme was Sudoku. I thought that was a game. What could you do? That person had perspective on Sudoku, and then he related that to life. And that was the actual theme. That was a complete game changer for me, and I loved it. So it's about what you build from your theme that's important. Also try and speak about what is Toastmasters. Now, a lot of clubs across the world do not speak about it. We come on stage, we do our theme, we go into the meeting. But imagine a guest coming in has no idea what you do. They know you're a public speaking platform, but what do we do? So talk about the glorious years of Toastmasters. What do we do? What organization it is? And talk about your club. That your club is one fruit of that big organization, and we help people become better leaders, communicators, orators, etc., etc., etc. Talk about the structure of the meeting. That the meeting would be defined in 3 segments: the prepared speeches, the table topics, and evaluations, which helps the audience and the guests better understand exactly what they should expect in a meeting. Then definitely introduce every role player that comes. Since you have prepared before the meeting on introductions, you have to execute that here. Call on the timer for the timing reports as and when needed during the meeting. Introduce the other role players. Also, something that's come very handy for me is always be a little over prepared in terms of content, in terms of segments. For example, if I am the Toastmaster of the day, building on the same theme, Bollywood, and last minute, the VPA tells me that we've got 2 speakers who backed out. We can't have a speaker last minute. I mean, we don't compromise on quality. What we can do then is add content in the Toastmasters of the day script. So that's where you maybe have a small video that can go handy, that can be shown to them. You can have an interactive session like a small round robin around the theme. Anything that adds to the meeting quality at the same time does not show uncoordination or no coordination and chaos while you're presenting it. So try having a little extra content that can fit in as and when needed. And finally, once you're done with the general evaluation, at the end, try and summarize your theme. Try and build a complete closure to your theme, and then hand the stage back to the presiding officer. When and if you do all of this, trust me, that small vote that they have at the end of the meeting, the best of big three, be assured if there are 36 people attending a meeting, 35 are going to vote for you because you can't vote for yourself, right? So that's the objective. At times you feel good when you win, right? So victory is a result of hard work. Hard work happens when you prepare. So try doing this, and you definitely, like a lot of us, we try and try, and one day we'll ace our role, right? So this was a quick checklist for before and during the meeting. Moving forward, okay. This is the most important slide in the presentation. Folks, even if you don't remember anything else I'm talking about today, remember this slide today. Remember that you are a string in the garland, as said a very, very, very dear friend, Shri Hasnain Changi. Don't try and become the bouquet. Don't try and be the hero of the meeting. Don't try and make the meeting about you. You are just there to coordinate the entire roses that are there in your garland. You need to knit all the sessions and bring closure. So to ensure you're aware of that, we've seen in the past in many clubs or even today, a lot of people spend a good 30 to 40 minutes on the theme building sessions, and there's very little time for the other segments in the meeting like speeches, table topics, GE. Remember, that's not the idea of the meeting. The idea of the meeting is to have educational sessions, which is just knitted well by a host. That's the idea, right? Moving forward, now, a few tips and tricks that will help us perform this role better. How can we ensure that we do a good job when we're the Toastmaster of the day? Obviously, besides making good presentations, we should also try and have a theme well in advance. What does this do? So if I'm the Toastmaster of the day for the 1st of April, I will try and have my theme by the 15th of March. The idea is I'm giving the club, which means the PR team, 15 days to work on a theme, to try and build posters, content, material that can be pushed across to guests, other Toastmasters, clubs, prospects, and that increases the pool of audience for you. Second is try and do your pronunciations. I have seen meetings where people have been pronounced the names wrong. For example, I mean, you may laugh if you want to. I have heard a million pronunciations for the name Hasnain, Hussein, Hassan, Husnain, and I was like, just call him and ask him his name once. It's as simple as that. So let's try and do that, because when you give the right name, the person listening to you wants to smile and is even more happier to do his role better. Third, keep track of time. Do not be an Abbas who's seeing the red card and still doing the presentation. Please keep a track of your time. Time is very important. Like I said, have fillers ready. In case there are backouts, you can always put those fillers in. Always practice at least a read through. And finally, like we've discussed, always lead the applause, because when you applaud, remember, the audiences echo that and the speaker feels good about it, right? The bonus point in the tips and trick is the M magic. Now, I would have asked you to guess what the M is, but then I want to be the hero today, so I'm going to just tell you what the M is. The M in the M magic stands for the very simple word in Toastmasters that we call a mentor. Try and run your script, run your Toastmaster of the day, the entire skeleton through your mentor. At times we think we're doing a great job, everything is perfect. But when we get a different perspective, we understand things that we may have missed, things that are extra, things that are unnecessary. And always try and run your script through a mentor. If you don't have a mentor in your club, many clubs do not have a mentor, try and run it through somebody that you may think is senior in the club. Try and run it through somebody that you've seen doing the role before, that you think did a great job. Just run it through somebody. The idea is to get a second perspective, right? With this, let's quickly move on to the next slide, which I also want to say is where we try and interact a little. Master, can we please move to the next slide? Okay. Now coming to the biggest question that a lot of us have. what theme do we go for? How do we pick themes? I mean, we've just started a new club. We're chartering right now. How do we set themes into place? Let's talk about it. So choosing a theme is your biggest task as the Toastmaster of the day before the meeting starts, before you give in your name, because that determines the tone of the meeting based on the theme you pick. Remember three things when you pick. They are, let the theme be entertaining so that you can connect well, but the audience understand you better. There's a lot of linkages between you and the audience. Remember, the theme is inclusive so that everybody in the meeting can be a part of it some way or another. And third is try and keep the theme relevant. Don't have a theme that does not make sense to the current audience that you have. So if you follow the E, I, and the R, it helps build a better atmosphere during the meeting. Now that you've seen points that you could use to build on themes, let's look at a few theme ideas that we can have while we're the Toastmaster of the day. A few theme ideas. Next, please. I've listed down 25 that came to my mind. I'm sure you can all build on it, but these are a few themes that you can right away steal and implement them in your Toastmaster of the day. They would be related to one of the E's, I's, or R's. You could have the November, the no of the November, and try and add your perspective to it. Veganism is a very, very, very in thing these days. I hate vegans for the record, but veganism could be a theme. Keeping secrets, gossiping. I mean, these are things that a lot of us do on daily basis. Like I keep secrets, bhakti gossips, but let's not get into that. But you could keep the theme as per what works for you. You can keep controversial topics that require point of views or opinions. For example, advertising is dead. I may advocate that, but Shaukat may say no, and that could be used for his introduction. So you need to understand different things that you could take. There are very famous ones, like something all of us that would connect on was Marvel versus DC. I mean, this is a theme that will never die off, I think. Everybody is either a Marvel fan or a DC fan. So things or themes like these will always keep you glued to the meeting, right? Moving on, let's look at a quick checklist or a quick cheat sheet that could help you. At this point, I'd request all of you, should you require the scripts and the checklist and the PPT and every other content that we're using on your emails, kindly scan this QR code or put in this link in your web browser and fill in the form. However, there is no hurry. I understand that. I mean, if you can use your phone and do it right now, please do it. I'll give you 30 seconds. If you can't do it, it's absolutely okay. We'll put this link on the chat as well after the presentation is over, and then you can quickly click on the link and do the script right away and do the form filling right away. It only requires your name and your email. That's the only information we want. And by today end of day, before today end of day, we'd be emailing you all the relevant content for a Toastmaster of the day. Right? Moving on. Okay. Like I said, the role of a Toastmasters of the day is very important, but before he hands over back to the presiding officer, the conclusion or the summary is very important. So I'm going to follow the same thing and I'm going to conclude my presentation today. I'm going to tell you, if you have to remember three things about your role, remember, one, that you are the meeting glue. You hold the entire meeting together. You seal all those broken or cracked up edges and try and make it a meeting that will be remembered for a very long time. Second, remember what Silk Smitha said in, I don't remember the movie's name, but movies work on 3 points: entertainment, entertainment, entertainment. And that is something that you need to imbibe in your Toastmaster of the Day role as well. Try and entertain your audience. By that, I don't mean go on the correct. The movie's name was Dirty Picture. Silk Smitha said it there. So try and entertain your audience. It does not mean by singing a song or dancing for them. It means by bringing different perspectives. It means by preparing. It means by including more folks into the theme, which makes it more relevant to them. And third, is something that I'm sure a lot of us do not know, but we will today, is that you are also called the converter of a meeting. By a converter, what I mean is a lot of guests and prospects attend a Toastmasters meeting. For them to become a member of the club, you on that day hold the biggest link. I know the VV membership and his or her team do all the coordination, talk, invite, when they leave, take feedback, but it's the experience that matters during the meeting. And that experience, you are the major contributor. So if as the Toastmaster of the day, you bring that to them, I think you've aced it. I mean, so So a good way, I wouldn't say the best way, but a good way to judge your performance post a meeting is if you've known there were a few guests, check how many have come back with a positive feedback or converted into members. And that could be a good parameter to appreciate ourselves and say that I think if I could convert 2 guests, I think I've done a decent job. Good enough to. So ladies and gentlemen, that I'm sure concludes our presentation for today. Zoom Master, can we see the next slide, please? Right. With this, remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are now done with the presentation. But for any role to complete, the best way to perform it is by preparing for it. I did that today. I promise. I mean, a lot of you will not agree, but to do this job today, I put in more than 10 days of hard work to get in relevant material and to try and do a good job. And that's what we expect from everybody that comes on stage, especially the Toastmaster of the day. Because if you put hard work into what you're doing, the good thing is because of the stage time you get, that will be visible to the audience. And when you do that, that will reflect in the quality of the meeting. And when you do that, that will reflect in the number of attendees. And when you do that, that will reflect in the number of guests and conversions. And when you do that, that will result in good qualitative feedback. And that's all we all thrive on. So with this, folks, we're done with today's session. That's about the Toastmaster of the day. I'd request the Zoom Master at this point to kindly put the link on the chat, and we'll give all of you 30 seconds if you wish to get the entire handbook for the Toastmaster of the day on email. Kindly fill in the form, and I assure you in the next few hours we'll email it to you. Please take 30 seconds and fill in the form once the link is on chat. Zoom Master, kindly confirm once the link has been posted. Okay, once that is done, we'll open for a quick Q&A. Folks, please remember we'll have a Q&A session only for the next 13 to 15 minutes, which means once the Zoom Master takes your name and unmutes you, kindly ask a question right away.
Abbas, we'll just put the link in some time. Can we go ahead with the questions till then?
Absolutely, yes. Abbas, can you please let me know if there's anybody who's asked a question?
As of now, we have Toastmaster Hassan Changi who has a question. Hassan, I'm adding you on spotlight. Yeah, Hassan, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Abbas, for that extremely enlightening session. I love the way you put your points across so lucidly. And my question to you right now is, you told us a lot of things about how we can do a good job and try and get more members for our club and string the whole meeting together. I need to know what is in it for me if I take up the role of a Toastmaster of the day. How does that help me become a better speaker, a better communicator, a better leader?
Okay, thank you very much, Toastmaster Hassan. Look, the idea of any role that you come on stage with is to improve from wherever you are. You know that the best. Now, when you do a speech, you get a speech time 5 to 7 minutes with a few objectives that you want to achieve. The good thing with being a Toastmaster of the day is you don't really have objectives besides what you set for yourself. You know what you've done in the past, or you know that you're starting blank and what you want to achieve by doing this role. The idea is you get more stage time to show what you have in you. And that is where I'd request all of us, coming back to my main point, is prepare. Let's not take roles just because the VP has asked. I'll do the TS Toastmaster of the day. I'll come on stage and do anything. Rather prepare, put in your hard work, take the stage time, because if audiences are investing a good 40 minutes on you out of the 2 hours of the entire meeting, it should be worth their 40 minutes. And that's what is in it for you. It is the value of time of your listeners, the value you can create in terms of content, the value that you can educate yourself with, because when you're a Toastmaster of the day, you try and take a theme. A lot of us take themes that are familiar with us, but a lot of us also take themes that are not familiar to us, because I educate myself first and then I come and deliver on that theme. So it's a lot of things that you can learn. The question is, how much do you want to learn? When you have the answer to that, volunteer for the role. And trust me, you will not be disappointed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hassan.
Plus, we have distinguished Toastmaster Shaukat Lokanwala who also has a question. I'll just spotlight him.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I got 2 points, Toastmaster Abbas. First is, how does one bring in humor inside as part of a Toastmaster? And the second one is, how do you manage time when other people take up more time and then the meeting tends to go over time?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll try and build on the humor part first. The best way to bring in humor, that's what I believe, at least it works for me, is self-deprecation. Try and pull out a joke on yourself, because when you do that, people laugh. Second is try and build a string between somebody that you may know from the audience. For example, I today took the benefit of having friends in the audience. I cracked a joke on Bhakti, on Jisha, because I know they'll take it the right way, and I could bring in a few smiles on all of your faces. So try doing that. Third is the very famous way of doing it, is go on Google, you know your theme, bring a joke and just personalize and deliver it like a lot of you do. The only suggestion I have to not to build humor is to not repeat the same joke 10th time. This suggestion is for a very special friend of mine who does the same joke at least 10 times with the same audience and he feels they will laugh every time. Do not do that. That always does not help, right? That's the first part. Second is about time management. How do you manage time? How do you ensure that everything runs on time? I think that's a very tricky situation because everything may be going perfect, but a speaker who was supposed to do a speech of 5 to 7 minutes has spoken for 12 minutes, which has thrown the entire meeting. I think that's where your on the spot thinking, your critical thinking comes into place. So as a Toastmaster of the day, let's take an example. I have Anushka as a speaker today, and she was supposed to have a speech of 7 minutes. She's spoken for 12 minutes. 5 minutes off the time. Now the timer has given her an indicator, but as an audience, we will wait for the speaker to conclude. But as a Toastmaster of the day who's understood what has happened, I will try and reduce on the content that I want to push to my audience. I will try and shorten all of that. I will try and knit from one session to another quickly, maybe try and reduce on the break. At the end, when concluding, I'll try and take that time also, make it a little more crisp and hand it over. The idea is obviously to give as much as I can, but the even important thing is to conclude the meeting on time. Remember, the meeting is not about you. The entire meeting is about everybody and everybody's time. So we try and ensure that we try and complete things on time and not complete the content we have. And we've seen people doing that in the past. So let's try and avoid that. Thank you, Shaukat. I think Zulfi has raised his hand. So I'm gonna start with DTM Zulfikar Ali. Yes, Zulfi.
Toastmaster Abbas, I heard the whole TMOD presentation. Now, I have running argument of this on the theme. You know, the theme has been there for the last 25 years since I joined as Toastmaster, always been there. But there is a huge difference in how the theme was practiced then and how the theme is practiced now. The theme at that time would be, say, for instance, today is the finals of the World Cup. So the theme is football, for instance. So what we would do as Toastmasters, we would ask the opinion of all the performers as to what your opinion about the World Cup is, what do you think, and use that in the introduction of the Toastmaster and go from a lower level to a higher level, building up the energy. So when the Toastmaster actually comes onto the stage to perform, in whichever capacity, the energy is the one that takes the Toastmaster along to a different level and he's able to perform better. Now, when you say theme, and you said some important things, that the Toastmaster day is the glue of the meeting. Correct. But with a theme, certain times, like for instance, you use like football, and then you present maybe the life of Messi, the life of this as a part of your Toastmaster of the day. Before you go into the individual this, you tend to become Fevicol. That's the way you'll get your 35 votes for sure. But the whole main point of raising the energy for the speaker gets lost.
True.
This, I wonder why the theme, it has become like the Toastmaster of the day is also a new performer in the meeting, whereas he is not. It's not about the Toastmaster. This is what I have my. So how do you, as a Toastmaster, handle that so that you maintain that proper functionary etiquette.
Thank you very much, DTM Zulfikar Ali. Folks, I think I'm gonna borrow back from the slide from my presentation, 2 slides that I spoke about. One is, remember, you are the string. It's not about you. That's number one. And number two, that a more direct answer to what Zulfikar said, and I completely agree with him, that a lot of us get so carried in our emotions that we're just talking about our theme and our theme and our theme, and we forget that it's about 10 other performers waiting to come on stage. And that's where you use the M magic. Try and run your thoughts, your idea, your theme, your description by a mentor, by a buddy, by somebody who's done the role in the past. Again, when I say that, I know a lot of clubs have the culture where they build a lot of time on the theme. They put in perspectives on the theme. And the only way to tackle that is by visiting other clubs, by seeing how other clubs do it and understanding there are different ways of doing the same thing. While I come from the same generation as Zulfi, where we have seen people doing a very crisp Toastmaster of the day, we've also seen Toastmasters doing a meeting without a theme. And those meetings are fantastic. But the idea to the theme or not having a theme is the idea of preparation. How much preparation you put and how much preparation you put in just knitting the meeting and not trying to overshadow the meeting. I think it's the distinguishing factor where you need to draw the line. And once you can do that by yourself or by using help, it is a win-win. Again, if this has happened, how do we tackle it? I think that's where the strongest person in the club steps forward. That's VP Education, mentors the person telling him or her that what they have done and what would have been preferred. And next time onward, whoever takes the role, we give them a checklist. And that is why the entire checklist comes into place. We try and push those checklists to the role players a week or two in advance so that they know that this is the guide, this is the Bible that the club follows, and I can try and be around the same points. I hope that answers your question, DTM Zulfi. I know Shri has raised his hand for a very long time. Shri, can we unmute you?
Sure. Thank you so much, DTM Abbas. So my question, I have 2 questions. So since you mentioned that we take good 7 days or 15 days prior to the meeting and reach out to people and try to get it running, the entire concept, the theme that we have decided. So my question is very simple. What to ask a member for an introduction? How do I introduce him? And the second question would be as a follow-up of the first question, that what if the person doesn't respond? Then what do I do as a team out of that day? What should I do in that circumstances?
Thank you very much, Shri. Okay, I think that's a very good question. Like I said, we should reach out to our people. We should reach out to every role player that's there. What do you ask them is very basic things. First is, for example, if Sumiran is doing a speech, the most basic question I can ask Sumiran is what is his project and his speech title? We've seen Toastmaster of the day who have the agenda in hand. Our speaker number 1 is DTM Abbas. Abbas, please come on stage and tell us what project are you doing. It is so disheartening to see that when you do not even know what project or speech title a speaker is doing. So let's try and have that minimum in place. So things that you can additionally ask a speaker are the speech title, the project, what's their hobby, what is their view on the theme, how long they've been a Toastmaster maybe, their purpose of joining Toastmasters, anything that could be used to add to the introduction, maybe a life achievement that they're very proud of. For example, if Shri tells me his life achievement is singing in front of Lata Mangeshkar, if he's very proud of it, I would want to use that in his theme because I know he loves this thing about it. And that elevates him before he comes on stage. And that's the objective. So these are small things that you can ask any role player actually. So that can go with any theme, or if you don't have a theme, it's just basic stuff about them that you could use for the introduction. That's one. Shri, answering your second question, what if they do not answer? I think it's simple. Be a little persistent. Send them a reminder after a few days before the meeting. If they still don't reply, I think what I would do is I would not bother them again on message or call. I would reach out to them before the meeting. I understand that being a role player, if the meeting is at 11 a.m. and if I'm a role player, I mean, morally or just in my head, I would want to be there 15 minutes prior. I'm thinking everybody would do that. So 2-3 minutes before the meeting, I would come to you, Shri. I tried reaching out to you. I think you were unavailable. I just wanted to understand maybe 2 quick points, your title, and what do you think about the theme? You give it to me, I add it to my script, and there I go. Those small, I may not have the lengthiest introductions for you, but I know you'll still feel better because everybody else was also introduced. That's the thought process. Thank you, Shri. I'm going to take Sanjeev and then Shripad, and we'll call it a day. Sanjeev, since you've raised your
Yes, sir.
hand,
Yes, sir.
please call me
Very
Abbas.
good
Sanjeev,
evening.
and tell me.
Very
Good
good
evening,
evening.
Sanjeev. Good evening.
Sir,
Please
I
tell me.
cannot switch on my video because I am walking in my campus. And so,
No issues. Your photo is equally good.
okay. So my question was around impromptu. Means suppose I chose the role of Toastmaster of a day, and I came to a situation where I do not know what to do. Means what to respond. Being a new member, I'm saying. So.
Okay.
How much, to what extent can I means include impromptu things in my speeches so that to lighten up the mood of the audience? Because sometimes it happens that speaker may not
Absolutely.
be able to speak because of many things.
Correct. Sanjeev, a very valid question. So, Sanjeev, I think the best way to go impromptu, and I think this is said by a lot of world champions as well, that the best way of going impromptu is to prepare for it. Like you said, many times speakers don't know what to speak. It's a 5-minute speech, spoke for a minute, they froze and they left the stage. I mean, they left the stage, we understand, but what do we do of the time? Somebody backs out. Again, you have 10, 15 minutes extra on the agenda. What do you do? Coming back to the basic, let's keep a little more extra content handy. Maybe if your theme is, for example, football, keep a few stories handy, a few World Cup stories handy that you could add in as and when needed. If the theme is football and you don't have stories, but you have a lot more perspectives from audience. For example, 2 speakers backed out, but you knew what they thought about the theme. You can always add that in between as layers to your theme. That, since the theme today is football, let's look at member perspectives, what they think. Toastmaster Shaukat, who's not here in the meeting today, but he had a very interesting view. He spoke about football being a ball that is played with the foot. Wow, how interesting. Something of that sort, where you try and incorporate their opinions, you try and build on the theme, and have a few extra content handy or a video that you may want to share. The idea is to always prepare. And I think even for, I'll bring that to table topics as well. I mean, since I do table topics and I'm passionate about them, I think the best way to do an impromptu speech is to prepare for them. How you prepare is read, is browse through content and build it here in your brains. That's about it. And with time and practice, that will help you knit things quicker. That's the thought, Sanjeev. Chitranjan, before we go to you, can I ask Shripad, since he's been raising his hand for a while now? Yes, Shripad, if you could unmute yourself. Zoomaster, please let me know if we can take one more question after this. Yes, Shripad.
Yeah. Can the theme be similar to the title of somebody's speech?
Okay.
Because there will be 7, 8 speakers. So
Right.
one of the title of some speaker and your theme go, hand in hand. Like, is it possible that, or then have the TMOD has to change the theme?
Okay. Shripad, to answer that in one word is yes, it is possible. There is no such restraint. You can have the theme as anything and the speaker can have the speech as anything, does not matter. And to remind of this, I'll give you a personal experience that happened a few months back, very recently in Mumbai. I was doing a speech on nothing at one of my clubs. And unfortunately, the Toastmaster of the day that day was a Toastmaster who's also chosen his theme as nothing. Both of us had very different content, but the central theme was very similar. And nothing is a very abstract concept. I mean, nobody does a speech or a TMOD on nothing. I mean, it's not life or motivation or inspiration, it's nothing. But he did a fantastic job. And I think I did a decent job as a speaker as well. And both of us were exactly the same in terms of the thought process. Our contents were different. And if the content is same, it does not matter. It just shows that you guys are so much in sync that you also prepared similar content. It works wonders. It just shows that you put an extra effort towards your theme that you asked a speaker to prepare for you on your theme. So you can use that as a joke as well in your TMOD, and that builds the bridge for you. Right, Shripad, I'm going to take one final question from Chitranjan before Zoomaster. Can we take one more question? I'm sorry, I had to check on that.
This is the last question, Abbas.
Right, done.
From Chitranjan.
Yes, Chitranjan.
Good evening, Abbas.
Good
My
evening.
question is regarding the timing. How much time you will allocate for the Toastmasters? And like what happens, the Toastmasters have to take the feedback from the audience, not feedback, take the views on the themes from the audience and guests. So how many guests will the Toastmaster of a day have to include in this session?
Thank you, Chitranjan. Okay. To answer that, firstly, how much time should be allocated to a Toastmaster of the day? I think that varies from club to club. what I think is a good time, is sufficient time, is 5 minutes at the start of the meeting. When you come on stage, a good 5 minutes should enable you to set the theme, build the bridge, and relate the theme to wherever you want to take it to. I think that is enough, in my opinion. Number two, we should ask for views from the audience and members. Absolutely, yes, from the members, but before the meeting, so you can use it in the introductions. From the guests, if you want to ask, which is not a practice, it's not a mandate, but if you're willing to do that interaction, I would still suggest you take that 5 minutes, reduce your content to 2 to 3 minutes, and use the remaining 2 minutes by asking audience if they're willing to contribute in their opinion. Also, while you do that, remember, when you ask somebody off the cuff, they will have detailed opinions. So a good way of doing that is, Toastmaster Jisha, can you tell me in less than 30 seconds, what is your view on my theme today of Bollywood? So she's got the point that she has only 30 seconds to tell me her viewpoint. So try doing that. Tell the person exactly what you want from them so that it does not affect the flow of the meeting. Because when you ask for multiple views, the time will go longer. And that's what we're trying to manage as well. That's the most important factor that we're managing as the Toastmaster today. So that's my thought on it, Chitranjan. I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers most of our questions. Folks, at this point, should you have any more questions, please feel free to put them on chat to me or to any of the Zoom masters. And I will get back to you, post this on WhatsApp, and I'll try and connect with you and give you a reply to the same. With this, I think that's it. And I hand the control back to our moderator, Toastmaster Sri Kebde.
Thank you so much, DTM Abbas. The kind of personality that you have, this charming, amazing personality, it was quite evident into the, it was seen the way you were presenting, and the abundance of knowledge you generally bring in to the club, to everyone who, who asks for support from you, is something that was very evident right now. The questions were answered beautifully. And I think there's nothing left for anyone to ask more questions, I guess. But then still, we'll keep the chat open for more questions. In the meanwhile, maybe please have Zoom Master felicitate our speaker for the day, DTM Abbas, with a certificate, thanking him for his contribution for us for this amazing presentation. DTM
Thank you very much
for for this this very educational session, and for more educational sessions that we may have in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Zoom Master, maybe please spotlight timer Hetal and felicitate her with a certificate. Hetal, you're okay. The certificate, please. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hetal, for your amazing contribution as a timer today. Folks, before you leave this session, I would request the Zoom Master to launch the polls for a feedback. Guys, we require your feedback on this very occasion, because your feedback is what helps us motivate and go forward with the next sessions. Please take 30 seconds and fill in the feedback form.
Mr. Moderator, I'm sorry, since I can't see, I can see the feedback form, but I can't see the responses or the votings. I'd request you to please share the responses with me so that I know how we fared today. Thank you.
Definitely will do that. Zoom Master, maybe please have the next slide in the meanwhile for our social media handles.
Just give me a second, Shri. I think my screen is frozen.
Oh, okay.
Okay, 1 second. Yeah. So these are the, I don't have any other slides, Shri.
Okay.
So these are the only 3 slides I have.
Okay, folks. Everyone who's attending us, please come back on the 25th of March. We will have an amazing auxiliary role players educational session, which is conducted by none other than DTM, Hasnan, Hussein, and all of those, whatever wrong names that were pronounced by Toastmaster Abbas. Maybe please have that slide. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. With that being said, Project University Pushpagiri will keep on happening for next session as well. We will request you to come back again, learn from our best Toastmasters who've been with us for more than 10 years, 20 years, and keep learning. I declare the meeting done. Thank you so much for attending this session.
Folks, thank you once again. And the email has been sent to all of you. I think you should be having it in the next 30 seconds. Thank you. I think all of you had filled the form. I have seen 30 responses to the form. We've sent out the documents. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Now the floor is